Your network is your net worth. How to relationships create opportunity. Okay, is the topic of our show today. Today on the Practical Wealth Show, we're joined by entrepreneur, speaker, networking expert, serial entrepreneur. Okay, let me throw that one in. Author Guy T. Dunn. For more than 3 decades, Guy has built opportunities around a simple principle: relationships matter, right? He's the author of Networking for Business, a practical guide that helps entrepreneurs, professionals, business owners move beyond collecting business cards and start building meaningful connections that generate referrals, opportunities, and long-term business growth. He's got a newly updated release, Networking for Business Owners 2000, basically updated last year, 2025. Contacts plus opportunity equals success. It provides a modern framework for networking today's digital and relationship-driven economy. And so today we're going to talk about why networking still matters, what most people get wrong, and how business owners can create opportunities by intentionally building the right relationships. So guys, that's my intro. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Curtis, man. It's been a long time. Glad to be able to reconnect with you. Talking about networking, we've been networking for well over, gosh, it's been almost 13, 14 years.
Yes.
We were in the Ben Group, Business Entrepreneurial Network, way back when. Glad that we can reconnect, man. So it's good to see you.
Yeah, I was telling them before we started, I said a lot of that stuff, this is part of a magnetic, it's called magnetic marketing now, or JKIC. And initially, most of it was over my head. I hadn't been reading stuff, but this is the power of proximity, right? You got to get around people, and it's all networking. It's who you're around. I always try, guys, to with networking or masterminds, which to me is another form of networking, I always try to be the dumbest, brokest person there. So I'm always trying to be in better rooms because I want to be in rooms. Sometimes I'm the OG or the mentor, but I need to be in rooms. I got to do that, but I want to be in rooms where I'm being mentored and I'm learning new stuff and people that challenge me like that. So we've been in and around those rooms for probably the last 12, 13 years. So I'm excited for us to before we talk about the book, tell me about your entrepreneurial journey. How did you first discover? Well, tell me your little background, your entrepreneurial journey. How did you first discover the power of networking?
So my entrepreneurial journey is unlike many because I grew up in a family business. I started when my father started a business when I was 12 years old. Did it because he was tired of working for people and making them money, and he had a big family, and he wanted to make sure that he was able to make a difference and send all of his children and the children of his brothers and sisters to college. That was his goal, and he did that. Most of us went to college if we chose. Others who didn't, they did other things, but the opportunity was always there. I looked at that and said, that's what I want to do. At 17 years old, I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. And luckily, and I've been blessed to be able to be that all of my life. I've only worked for other people about 6 years of my adult life, but I've owned a commercial cleaning company. I've owned a IT recruiting agency. I owned an IT franchise. I owned a digital marketing company. I've owned trucking company, and now I am part owner in a roofing company, as well as a AI software development company, which I started last year. And the bottom line is I've used my ability to connect with people to always keep me not employed, but keep me financially moving forward, because I realized that my network is my net worth, and making sure that I look at the opportunity of everybody I meet and make sure that the opportunities are always available, because I keep myself as a resource for many people. And that's one of the things which I teach in networking is be a resource. If you can be a resource, people are going to want to do things for you. And that's what I've been always focused on. When I meet people, a lot of times it's like, so yes, my name is Guy Dunn. I'm doing a bunch of things, but more importantly, how can I help you? Tell me what you're doing. Let me see if there's opportunity for me to be able to offer you something that could add value to your life, your business, and what you're trying to do as a goal.
See, right there, that's a bar because a lot of times we are so focused on what we want. When you go to the event, giving out business cards, about just running off at the mouth and not listening to how can I serve? Because here's how I say it, and just I think you just really your process really feeds into that. Is money you earn is a result of creating value for others in the marketplace.
Right. Yep. I
Right.
agree.
And I think that if so, you really have to take the focus off of what you need and figure out. You got to hyper focus on solving other people's problems, and then I try to think I've gotten, I'll say, okay, decent at that, and where I try to position myself to be the go-to. Where because the other part, if you want to get referrals, you got to give referrals, right?
Oh,
You got to
for sure.
so I give people, tax people, accountants, whatever my ideal client needs, call me first because I know a guy or a gal
Yep,
that
that's
can
it. I
do it.
know a guy.
No guy, and that I've vetted, that I've interviewed, right? And because the cardinal sin for me is don't make me look bad, don't not call them, don't screw up.
Right.
You
Yep.
gotta make sure your stuff is together. So let's go back for a second. So is there a specific, sounds like it's all growing, but I'll just ask it this way: is there a specific moment in your career where you realized relationship were more valuable, or do you think relationships are more valuable than marketing or advertising, or is it part of the marketing ecosystem? How do
I
you?
think it's, I mean, relationships building, networking is a marketing strategy.
Okay.
But I'm going to give you a story about when I really took to networking as just a income stream because I knew that it made sense, but without directly looking at it as going after money. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when I bought my IT franchise, and this was in 2006, I bought a Geeks on Call franchise. I bought 3 territories in Chester County, PA. Okay. I knew nobody in Chester County, PA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it was an existing franchise. It was a great deal. And I said, at that time, actually, I was right before I bought it, I was the director of business development for a systems engineering company. They were a government contractor. And part of the reason I went with them, and that was one of the jobs I've had in my life, they were going to be buying other companies. And the reason why I got with them is because they said they were going to buy other companies. And I said, that's great. I would love to be a part of that and help you grow some of the companies you buy. So I worked with them for about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. And during the period, he had looked at different companies to buy, but he would never pull the trigger. And I would find opportunities for him and do some vetting for it. And it got to the point where it was getting frustrating. And I looked at this Geeks on Call franchise. I said, here's an opportunity here. Why don't we take a look at this? And, we looked at it. We talked to the owners, and he said he didn't want to do it. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to go buy it because I don't think that you see the real value of it. And I did. I went and bought the franchise. And so when I did, knowing that I didn't know anybody in the area where the business was, I had to go find business. Now it was existing, but the owner had gotten sick and he kind of went down. The business kind of slowed down significantly. So what I did was I went out in Chester County, found out where are the Chamber of Commerces, where are the networking groups, what's out there for me to be able to get to know some people. So I joined 5 different chambers in Chester County, and I would go to events 5 to 10 times a week. I am at events almost every day, meeting people, getting to know people, getting to be known. And I did that for about 6 months where, it got to the point where people were like, Guy, you are everywhere, man. How are you everywhere? I said, listen, this is what I do. I have to get to know people so I can grow the business. And so from that, I said, you know what? Let me take all the cards I gather and start emailing a newsletter to them. And so I created a newsletter called Guy's Networking Newsletter, where I would list all the networking events that I would go to, and I would send it out to people, and they would know, just like I knew where all the events were, they would know. And then it got to the point where I built that list up to a few thousand people.
Wow.
And every month I would send out that newsletter in the beginning of the month so people would know where the events were for the month. And it got to the point where when I would send it out, if I was like a few days late, if I send it out on the 5th or 6th instead of the 1st, people would be texting me not texting me because back then it was before text,
Right,
but
right,
emailing me saying, Guy, I haven't seen your newsletter. Is everything okay? I
right,
said, no, I just didn't get it out. And so I would get it out. And at the end of my newsletter, I always throw a little coupon at the bottom of it for my business. And without fail, every month, beginning of the month when my newsletter would go out, I would get 5 or 6 calls for business. But more importantly, in the newsletter, I would put an article about networking that I would create. I write
right.
up something that I would talk about the positive nature of networking, how to do it more effectively, the things you do when you go to a networking event. So I became kind of a networking expert. And that's actually how I wrote my first book. I did that newsletter for probably about 5 years. So I took the best articles from the monthly newsletter and created a book out of it.
That's awesome. So you're everybody. See, most of y'all, I tell people, are creating content. You either cut the camera on or organize your content. I want to go back to before. I want to go into the book next, but I want to go back to that because you just gave me like 3 ideas. So just so y'all know, guys, this show is personal consulting for Curtis. All right. So let's talk about so today, as we record this 2026, do you see a variation where a realtor or somebody like me in financial services or attorney could kind of recreate that model for their businesses? And what would that look like?
Oh, absolutely. And the reality is, so the thing is this, I took something that everybody wanted to learn about, wanted to do, and everybody did anyway, which was networking. And it wasn't about my business. My business was IT at the time. So me writing a newsletter about something that's not about my business, but closely related to what everybody needed in the business and in any business, it had value. So that's the thing. What I said, what can I do to bring value? Just like I said earlier,
Right.
bringing value at all time. So I figured a way where I can bring something that they told me, because again, people was like, Guy, how do you know about all these events? Well, I just collected the data and then used it to my advantage. And I said, okay, I can just put this into a list and give it out to everybody. Okay. But that's what I did. I created value from something that anybody could do. I just did it.
Right.
So it's the same thing. Whatever you're doing, you can, for instance, in financial planning, you can do a newsletter on, it could be anything. The best things to do while you're on vacation, and focusing it on the benefits of vacation, and getting people to say you must take a vacation. Okay. And every month you talk about vacations, different places, different things you do on vacation, different ways to relax, different ways to have groups on vacation. But it doesn't have to be with financial planning, but it's something that financial planning can help people do, which is go on vacation.
Right. Because why are you making money? So you could travel, so you could do that kind of stuff. And I follow Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. He goes, listen, if you want to double just for entrepreneurs, if you want to double your income, you need to double your time off.
Okay.
Right.
I've never heard that, but that's
So I took that to heart. I was like, okay, so I use a 12-week year, right? So every quarter is a year for me, and I want to go on vacation once a year. So I'm trying to go somewhere every quarter. Right.
Oh, you gotta come with us next time so I don't know if I told you, my wife and I, we host a tour of Ghana every year. So you got to come with us on one of our trips, man.
All right. See, we got to work that in because I've not been to Africa. We've been to Europe.
Okay.
We've been to South America. I've been to South America. We haven't been to, and so we're trying to get our kids to all 50 states and the countries. But the thing is, you have to, when I get back, I'm strategizing, how can I grow my revenue? How can I save money on taxes? Because it takes money to do that stuff. And, so to me, that we're in business to serve clients and make money, but money's to do something. What do you want to do that drives you, that gets you? So travel is one of our things. That's traveling and eating. That's my thing.
Traveling and eating. Yeah, right. I'm on that same bandwagon, man.
Yeah. So traveling and eating, and new places. And I think this year to date, in the last June, So in the last 7 months, you've been to Greece.
Okay.
Not to brag, just to show you, I'm
No, it's not bragging. It's you. Everybody lives their lives the way
right.
they choose.
Right. So Florida were business trips. I had one trip to Colorado Springs to the
Okay.
what's it called? The Broadmoor, nice resort
Okay.
up in the mountain. Oh, it was awesome. And so now, all right. So the end of my second quarter is coming up, and it's like, all right. So what are we going to? We're at least two places we're going to go about it in the next 2 months. So we plan it, put it on our calendars, and then we work. Because if you're going to travel, gets back to the planning part. You got to set the date, buy a ticket, and
Yep.
start saving money. You know what I mean? Like if you set the date, you're halfway there. If you just
Yeah.
make it, So I think, so back to that. Do you set, here's the other activity I want y'all to pull out of that, because I don't even network this hard. So I just put me to shame, and I got to up my game a little bit. He went to 6 to 10. How many? Like you went to a lot of networking a week.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah, every week, man. When I first, because like I said, I knew nobody in the area where my business was, so I had to go to events every week, as many as I could find.
Do you feel at some point you could throttle back on that?
Oh, and I did, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I joined 5 different chambers, and I thought I focused after a while. I focused on 2 or 3 of them.
Where
And
did you have
just
the biggest ROI?
exactly, yeah,
Okay.
because you have to do the ROI on the events, and where you're spending your time, what's the value. I mean, with chambers, one of the things that you need to do is find the committees that you can go on that gives you the opportunity to meet the most people. Okay,
There you go. That's
so like for
right there.
instance,
Okay,
the
I told you
ambassador
that.
committee.
Yeah.
If you're on the ambassador committee of any chamber, your job is to meet new members. And that gives you a reason to connect with them, talk to them, and say, well, this is, I'm going to introduce you to the chamber. But then you always go to the conversation about, well, listen, this is what I do. This is what you do. Let's see if there's opportunity for us to do business together.
Yes. Go there for a second. On the one thing that was interesting was that you had a coupon for your business in the newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
and that transition to, hey, I want to get to know you, to I'd like to share with you what I'm doing and see if I can help you. Does my thing help you? What do you have a transition in your mind? When is it time to into that?
I mean, it all depends on the situation. The conversation can always lead that way. It depends on, again, when you talk to somebody and figure out ways to help them, you can always say, how is your computing environment?
Yeah.
And are there any issues like that? When I was an IT guy,
Yeah.
say, tell me about your computing environment. What do you use it, and what could be better? That's an easy conversation to have. And say, listen, I don't have to sell you anything, but I would love to see if I can help you.
Right.
Because there's some tips. Give you another example of what I did. My first book that I wrote was Quick Computer Fixes for the Non-Geek. I wrote it as a giveaway to my customers. So it was like, okay, I did it for 2 reasons. One, it gave them quick things they can do if they went wrong with their computer. But more importantly, it establishes me as the expert. Once you're established as the expert, they only want the expert. Okay.
Right.
And most of the time, people are like, well, if you do that, then they're going to read the book and they won't call you. I said, no, they're not going to read the book. I'm giving it to them because I know they're not going to read it. They're going to put it on their shelf, but they're going to say, you know what? He's the IT guy that gave me the book. He's got to be good.
Right. Right. You literally wrote the book.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And even then, that transactional relationship is, I don't even have to talk about it. I can say, oh, you know what? By the way, I'm going to give you one of my books I wrote on IT in case you ever need it. You don't have to use me. You don't have to do anything. But I think, this is one of the things I give to people I connect with, just so they can see and be able to use this tool that I'm giving away. And then you walk away, and eventually they're going to call you because everybody has needs.
I love that. Okay, let's transition to the book. You got many books, but the Networking for Business originally,
Mm-hmm.
and which you said it came from the compilation of your best newsletters. Why did you decide to update it now?
I decided to update it because you know what? Networking from 2012 to 2025 is night and day. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just we didn't have social media, we didn't have texting, we didn't have Facebook, we weren't doing Zooms, so everything has changed, but everything still the requirements are still the same. But there's so many ways to do it now. There's so many different aspects of networking that I said, you know what, it's time. And I've been thinking literally about this for the past 5 years. Okay, writing a networking book. Even with the pandemic, I was like, oh man, and I was literally thinking about it right before then, and I said, nah, it's not the right time. But this last year was the time for me to say, you know what, I have all these ideas in my head. I've been thinking about it. Let me just go ahead and get it out.
Hmm.
And I literally just spent probably 3-4 weeks writing up the ideas and just putting the pieces together for it. And it was pretty much written because, like I said, a lot of it is, although it is a updated version, it's 90% new stuff.
Okay.
And in my book, in both books, I put action items in the end of each chapter to make it so it's not just something you read, but it's something you use, because it gives you specific things that you can do at the end of each
Every
chapter that
chapter. Yeah.
goes about the things that I talk about in the chapter, so it makes networking more relevant.
Well, okay. So your subtitle is context plus opportunity equals success. What does
Mhm.
that you want elaborate on that formula? Because I like frameworks. Like that's a formula.
Okay. Well, I tell people all the time, every contact has an opportunity. You just don't know what that opportunity is. We all know people. We all connect with people. I give you an example. I have a new book that I'm writing. It's called Networking for Students. I'm going to teach. My goal is to start teaching at colleges to teach young people how to network, because colleges don't teach it. It's
No.
not even a part of any curriculum. Okay. So, me to be able to do that and show them the value of networking is amazing. But one of the things I tell them is, look, you are in a classroom with what, maybe 30, 50, I don't know how many people. You have a dorm that you connect with hundreds of people. You have roommates, you have friends you connect with, you're in groups, you're on sports, and everybody in that ecosystem of people
Mhm.
that is a connection, and they are all connected to somebody. I give you an example where I say, do you have 5 or 10 friends? And they all say, of course we do. All right, do you know that out of those 10 friends, that there are 20 parents that are doing business, that either high up or they're working in jobs that you may want to be in? And you can go to any one of your friends' parents and say, listen, I'm thinking about going into this business. Can you give me 15 minutes so we can talk about, I learn about what you do and see if it makes sense for me to understand that better. Okay, so now they've taken those 20 conversations they had, and one of them may be able to lead to an opportunity. And then they can say, oh, I love what our conversation. Is there any way you can introduce me to somebody who might be able to help me progress in this field? It's going to happen.
Oh my God. That's the story of my life. You know what I mean? My dad, I mad at my coach and transferred from one school to another. Then after the fact, he says, you should have stayed. I was up there in Boston. He goes, there were going to be more movers and shakers where you were,
Hmm.
later on in life. And he would say, listen, it's not what you know as much as who you know.
Yep.
And he would impress upon me to do that, to get to know people. Fortunately for me, I really got an Amway. I don't think I was 19 or 20 as a junior in college. So
Hmm.
I started that how to win friends and influence people, the magic of thinking big. I mean, I was making any money, but it started my path down personal development at an early
Right.
age.
Okay.
And I don't think, they don't read. We get a whole nother show on that. Young people don't read outside of I'm just like my daughter. I'm trying. It's like me pulling teeth to her to. I'm gonna send her this episode, right?
Hmm.
Is that
Hmm.
because she's a beast at this if when she puts her mind to it, right?
Right.
and it's not what you know. And see, because the other thing is, everybody will help they'll help anybody, but a young
I tell them that
person
all the time. Yes.
trying to do something positive, right? And
Yep.
you look up, you dress well, you smelling good, you got good manners, you look people in the eye. That's half of it right there, because they might hire you because I used to work with Art Williams. You go, listen, you beat like 80-90% of the people if you just show up and work hard, because most people can't even do that.
Oh, especially this next generation.
Right. Now you learn how to critically think, work at getting better, care, and I told my daughter, work to learn, don't necessarily work for money. What skills are you developing? It's funny because I only work for somebody. My dad told me you're not making money to work for somebody else. I've heard that since I was like 9,
Mm-hmm.
and so I never wanted a good job. That wasn't a good thing in my household. My dad was like, we signed the front of the check, right? And there's no offense if you don't. That's just
That's
God
a
and I
good
grew
one.
up like that,
Yep.
right?
So we signed the front of the check.
We don't, and we employ others. That was I got, whether they said that subliminally, we employ others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but as an employee, a lot of corporations want to hire children of people that are self-employed.
Of course. Yep.
Or work, because they know how to.
They have the work ethic, and they
Yeah,
grew up in a good and many of them do. Some of them
yeah. All right, I ain't gonna beat up on the day. So what? Let me ask you. So I want to go into application, but I want to ask a question. Why do some people attend networking events for years and never get any meaningful results?
because they don't have a plan. Networking is planned. It should be a planned event. Okay, you should have a goal when you go to networking, and you should have part of it is the of how you do it, why you do it, and what you do with it when you do it. Okay, so for instance, how you do it, you go to an event, and maybe you say, all right, my goal today is to meet, you know, now you say I'm here to meet 5 to 6 people
Mm-hmm.
and connect with 5 or 6 people. And it might be an event that might have 30 or 40 or 50 people there, but I only want to meet 5 or 6 people. And then if it's at an that then you could identify the 5 or 6 people that you want to meet because you anticipate that they'll be there. So I want to meet this person, I want to meet Joe, and I want to meet April, and I want to meet William, and I want to meet, Curtis, and I want to meet Jane. Okay. Right. And I've a little research on all of them, and that's why I want to meet them, because I know that they can help them and they could probably help me. And then when you do connect, say, you know what, you go to that event and say, Curtis, you know what, I've heard about you and people have talked about you, and I need to know if this is true. And then I start that conversation and we start talking, and now that starts that relationship. But it's a plan to do that. Secondly is the follow-up. You have to make sure that your follow-up game is strong. You're sending out an email within 1 or 2 days. Usually it's supposed to be within 24 hours.
Yeah.
You're reaching back out and you stay persistent. Like I mentioned earlier today, is that I talked with a guy who I met at an event, and he had called me maybe about 4 or 5 times. I met him probably about 4 weeks ago, and I haven't called him back, but I called him back today, and I told him, your persistence is why I called you back.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then the other thing is, man, you just have to make it a part of your marketing strategy, just like anything else. I had a company that I built, and actually I owned the site, and I use a site called Marketing Asset Builders. Okay. And a marketing asset should be something that you can do marketing wise that's like a book on the shelf. You can pull it off the shelf, open it up, and it tells you everything you do for that marketing strategy. You do it, and it's going to generate you 10 customers the next month. You close it up, put it back on the shelf, and whenever you need it, you pull it back out and you do it, because it's a strategy that you've developed that's going to be able to help you market. And it's going to be something that's vetted. You know that every time you do it, it's going to get results. And that's why you have it as a strategy, not as something you try, but you do it, you try it, you put it into a strategy, you put it into a book, and now you have a system that you can always go back to.
That is all. Marketing is a system. And so Daniel Priestley says income follows assets,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so Dan Kennedy would say most people have random income events, but they don't have a system. And all wealth is a result of systems, right? A marketing system, a networking. He said it several different
Mhm.
times. A system. You meet them, you do this, you do this, you do this,
Yep.
right? And I don't. Most people don't approach networking that way. They haven't organized what they're going to say. I had this thing. I'm not going. Next week I go to this meet up, and they said, "Listen, don't be ashamed to read it, right?" Because I put it in my notes, but I was like, "Oh, I look stupid if I read this." But if I read it, I'll have it memorized.
Yep.
I want to make sure I hit the points, but so I'm probably going to read it next time. And let's talk about how do you build genuine, in your mind, relationships without feeling transactional?
Focus on the personal. Focus on, truly. I mean, the reality is, if you truly want to help people, then focus on helping them. The
Mm-hmm.
business will come eventually.
It will come. Yeah.
So, because the thing is, if you're selling something that most people need, they're going to, when the need comes up, they're going to think of you, especially if it's something that you do. Or if somebody tells them that they have a need and it's in your area, you're going to get that referral. I get a lot of referrals just because people say, listen, Guy has helped me out. If you need anything in reference to IT, when I was in IT, they say, just call him. He's not going to take advantage of you. He's going to bend over backwards, and he's going to do what's necessary to make sure that his job is done. That's it. So, and I don't tell people to do that. They do it because they know me, and I've developed a personal relationship with them, and they realize it's going to help me out.
I love that. What tell me about, you've kind of alluded to this. I just want to make sure I get it out here in a straight line. Your recommended follow-up process after meeting somebody at an event for the first time. So you said they need to have a plan. Do you
Right.
have a framework of step? Here's 1, 2, 3, 4 things that should happen when you get that business card, or you electronically, people have with Blink or one of these
Yep.
things where you
Yep.
scan their card, but there needs to be a whole follow-up system to that. Can you give me now I want y'all to get the book because he's updated all this stuff, but I want you to hear it here.
Yeah, I think that one of the things you first and foremost is always have a plan to follow up like within 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that means if you meet somebody now with digital, when you have Blink or a digital card, you can scan that card. Their contact information is right on your phone. And I would say the easiest way to do that is to have a standard response that you send out, and maybe modify it with 1 or 2 lines of something that you spoke about the night before when you met them, but you have a standard response. And if you don't have if you don't have anything specific about the that you met them, just send out the standard response, which is, I'm glad we met last night at XYZ event. Would love to be able to see how we can let this relationship grow. Keep in touch. I'll probably reach out to you in the next week or 2 so we can have a cup of coffee. And that's pretty simple.
Got it. I love that.
All right. And now that's the first step. And then the next thing is do what you say you're going to do.
Okay.
If you're going to connect with them in the next 2 weeks, connect with them in the next 2 weeks. And then focus on how you can help them, and always ask. That's the number one. How can I help you? And say, this is what I do. These are the people I know. Is there any needs that you have in your business and your personal life? Because I know a lot of people in every field. One of the things I tell people is I have over 20,000 first generation connections in LinkedIn. Okay. Wow. I am a 0.1%er. I have more connections than 99.9% of the people in LinkedIn. And I did that purposely because I want to be able to reach out to somebody in any field at any time during my life. I can do that right now. Okay. And with that I'm connected to somebody in any field at any time. So if somebody needs something, I said, you know what? You can look in my LinkedIn profile and see if there's anybody in my first generation that you might want to connect to. Let me know. And I may not know them very good personally, but they are connected to me, and I can and will make that connection because you're connected to me.
Do you find that's brilliant right there? I don't find, like, I was at an event and says, listen, it's a financial planning event, meet people. You should, in a good way, cyber stalk them and look through their LinkedIn profile and see who they're connected to that you want to meet. But I find people don't really use LinkedIn right. Like, they don't really know who they're connected to.
You're right. And it depends on the type of LinkedIn user you are. Okay. Like I am lion, which is I will connect with anybody on LinkedIn. But I
Okay.
did that purposely, like I said, so I can have a connection to anybody in any field in any country. Okay.
Okay. Uh-huh.
But also the thing about it is, then it's not being, if they're willing to connect with you and they accept your connection, then that says, I am willing to connect with you and you can reach out to me at one time or another. So that introduction, as loose as it is, it's still better than not knowing anybody at all.
Right. Right.
Okay. So utilizing that as a tool, some people say, now there are other people say, I only connect with LinkedIn on people that I've met personally, know them and met in person. And that's the way to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that because now you're talking about strong personal relationships
See, I'm
that you're
kind of
building
like
up.
that, but I feel like that could be limiting.
It is limiting, but that's okay. The thing is, it's now that's quality over quantity, which either way it can work, but the quality definitely makes a lot is a lot better because now you have warm relationships
Yeah.
and you can take that with you take that and do a lot more with it down the line. And either way it works.
Yeah. How does social media change networking for better or for worse?
The social media has made it where there are no borders. So you can connect with anybody at any time, anywhere. I mean, and it's easier to stay connected to people through social media. You can connect with them, you can follow them, they can follow you, you can be when as a friend, you can send them content. And like for instance, you can if you know somebody's interested, like for instance, my network, you see, I went to Morehouse College, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
Morehouse College network is huge. I will connect with anybody who's a Morehouse College alumni because I have a commonality. And that's the thing about networking. Networking is no more than, for lack of better terms, exploiting the commonality so you can use that in a relationship to be able to do something with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
have to find out what that commonality is. So a lot of times the networking event is the first step to finding that commonality. But once you find the commonality, now you say we have something in common. Now we're connected.
I love that. Um, I got two more sets of questions. So
Okay, no problem, man.
I got the expert, so I'm this half the stuff for me, y'all. I just want you to know. So let's talk about strategic alliances. One of the things that we teach, and we teach in we have something called Small Business Profit Lab, and I've taught a process. I call this what I call the 10 core self promotion strategies. But my fourth principle is strategic alliances, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because it's who do you want, but who knows your who, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things I teach is how to grow through strategic alliances. How do you identify? And let's keep it in the networking world or anything else that comes up. But let's stay with networking. How do you identify the right strategic partners? Like you're like, all right, here's who I need, and let me go to events and see if I meet somebody like that. Like part of it, again, it goes back to the preparation. And how does that help you grow personally? Because I can see that's where your is for not just for new business for you, but strategic alliances.
Right. Strategic alliances are important. I mean, one of the things is, especially as a business person, you want to connect with people who connect with the same network as you, because your network of customers and their network of customers is two totally new groups of people that you can connect with that have the same needs. So, for instance, if I'm in a roofing company, but I know, and if I connect with somebody who's a plumber, okay, he has homeowners that like and trust him. I have homeowners that know, like, and trust me. So now we can cross pollinate our customer bases, and I can market to his customer base, he can market to my customer base, because we are servicing the same thing, homeowners who have needs at their homes. That's a perfect example of how that strategic alliance makes sense. And you can even do it, I mean, you do that through networking events and networking groups like the BNIs and professional networking, other professional networking groups like that, where you have only one person in a different industry,
Yeah.
but finding those industries that are closely aligned with your customer base so you can get access to their similar customer and they can do the same for you. And it costs you nothing. It just costs you the time to develop that relationship. And you say, listen, I'll give you my customers, you give me your customers, and we can send out cross marketing tools to promote each other.
I've done it. That's what it called endorsement. It's a strategy, right? So
Yeah.
I had when I was young, and I was like 20 something. My dad, I showed him what I was doing. My dad's accountant,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a letter, referral letter, and he agreed to put it on his stationery and mail out to like 20 or 25 of his clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually probably did business with 8 or 10 of them.
There you
Because
go.
it came from so if you get an endorsement from their pastor, their CPA, their whoever, you got to network them, develop a relationship so you can do that. Like, so
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? The chicken. So I want to piggyback into this. So how, if you have a thought process on how to do this, how can professionals create a referral ecosystem instead of constantly chasing leads? You have any thoughts around that?
Doing just what I said. A referral ecosystem is by connecting with people who are connected to who serve the same client base. The more you do that, the more you're going to be able to go after easy introduction of new clients. And the other thing is, and this is one I tell people all the time, your best new client is a client you already have. Sell them something
So else. That's their situation,
Exactly. That
Yeah,
proves
yeah,
their situation.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've done that many, like for instance, when I was in the IT business, they called me to, because their computer was slow, their internet went out, but then I would say, things are great. I got your problem solved. Are you backing up your computer? You're not backing up. Well, we need to set up a backup for you. Okay. And that for another $100, a year, I can do an automatic backup for you. Okay. Oh, and you don't have a service contract? Well, we need to do a service contract. Then I can remotely manage your systems. So if you have any problems, I can take care of it remotely and I don't have to come out and see you anymore. Even though I'd love to come see you, but
Right.
but that's an easy way to grow and do that. And one other thing that most people don't do, and I'll tell you this for many business owners, they don't raise prices. Okay. They'll have somebody for 15, 20 years never raise a price. And you can, at any time, you could say, okay, then I'm going to raise my prices by 5%. And if your customers are good, you take care of them, they're like 5%. So what? Another $5 on $100? Okay, no problem. Let's do it. Okay. So you've just given yourself a 5% raise and you don't have to do anything but tell you people you're going to get a raise.
And they're not, this is what we learned from our group that we're part of, they're not as price elastic as they think they are. They're not as price sensitive. And so if you've got 100, 200 clients and you have a monthly thing, or or if you want to see less people, raise your prices.
Yep.
And you make the same money or more and give yourself more hours.
For sure.
And that's constantly talking, folks, at the Profit Lab, folks. That's work less and make more. Okay. So let's talk about wealth and relationships. So would you agree that relationships are a form of capital?
Oh, without question. Yeah. I mean, you're ready to maintain relationships. Again, that you can help people with, especially if it helps them make money, it helps them be more financially secure. It has value. And you know what? The thing is this, the law of reciprocity, you're familiar with it. Once you help somebody, they are unconsciously thinking that they have to find a way to help you back. I mean, and that is capital. I mean, that's relationship capital, but also that can lead to, any kind of capital. You're building up your credibility, you're building up your value to them. So that means when you need something, when you want to offer them something, I mean, I'll be honest, I've had customers I've talked to about investing in business opportunities I have, and they have invested because they said, Guy, if you're going to be behind it, no problem. How much do you need?
That's strong right there.
Yeah.
If someone lost all of their money today but kept their network, in your mind, how quickly could they rebuild?
It depends on what they're selling.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on what they're doing. And again, it depends on how comfortable they are with going to people and saying, listen, I'm trying to rebuild. I need my friends to help me, but I also am going to give you a lot of value for what I'm going to do for you. So, one, not being afraid to be vulnerable is one thing. And once you do that, then you can turn that around within months, weeks, even depending on how and what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the power of, we have an event coming out where we're having somebody talk about databases, but you like the referrals need to go into something where you can track them, keep notes about them. And a lot of people don't use like a CRM. I
Right.
don't care what you use. I just care that you use it, right? Where you,
Mhm.
because you can't, I read this book like, God, it's probably about 20 years ago, probably 25, by David Allen, Getting Things Done.
Mhm.
And one of the things he said was that he used Outlook. I don't love Outlook, but you've got to create a second brain that your mind trusts, and do a brain dump of all of the to-do lists, the notes, the appointments, because you up your mind with minutia that you don't need to worry about, especially now with AI and that kind of stuff, that you just worry about being present with people and listening.
Right.
I use, when I'm working with clients, I'll use AI instead, to kind of be my note taker. And
Of
that
course.
way I'm 100% listening to you. And then I go back and review my notes, and I send people the recording and a summary of what we talked about, which they find helpful. But I'm present, listening and helping, solve the problem, or at least hearing, where I'm like writing, trying to listen to you and take notes. It's inefficient, let's just say.
Right.
So that's a thing where technology has helped. For entrepreneurs listening today, what's the one network principle they should implement immediately, though?
Repeat the question.
For entrepreneurs that are listening to this call, I want to give
Mhm.
them one principle, networking principle, that they should implement immediately upon hearing this show.
Structure your follow up. Just make sure that you're doing what's necessary, that you are able to stay relevant to the people that you connect with as soon as possible, and do it it has to be a habit. It can't be something that you do haphazardly. You got to say, every time I go to an event, this is what I do. I put them in my database. I connect with them immediately within 24 hours, and then I follow up with them within a week or two. Every time you have to do it. If you don't do it, then you're wasting your efforts.
I love it. So it's a system. So if somebody's listening and they're talented, hardworking, and honest, but they feel stuck, that's the advice that you would give them.
Yeah, slow down and put the process in place.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So let me ask you one question. I want you to tell them how to follow you and how to reach you. If you lost everything tomorrow except your reputation and your network, what would you do in the first 30 days to rebuild your business?
I would probably connect with a few people that have stuff to sell, and I would go ahead and put it out to my network. Okay. Like, for instance, if I know somebody who is selling lead generation like I do, or they are selling financial services or something where I can give referrals and set up a relationship to get get a referral fee from them,
Affiliate fee or something. Yeah.
and then I would just hustle. That's what I do, man. I would hustle my butt off and get them in front of as many people as possible so I can get my network working for me to be able to generate business. Now, the other thing is, I'm a consultant, so I can always go to somebody and say, listen, my experience has allowed me to be in front of people, and people know that I can help them with their business. So for me, it's not as difficult because I know people.
Right. But that's the thing. You want to collect. You have to see. This is what I tell young people. You think like a consultant and listen for problems. I'll look at. I try to teach my kids to look. Like I'll look at. One of the concepts that I teach. I learned this from what's his name? Not Joe Polish. What's his partner? It's a book. It's a show called I Love Marketing.
Mhm.
I can't. Oh,
Know it, but go
I'm
ahead.
picturing him. I'm thinking. But anyway, he says I look at business in three parts. Like before your before unit. If I look at it as three separate businesses, before, during, and after.
Mm-hmm.
And before, during the sales process, so networking will be part of your before unit. Network,
Mm-hmm.
get their information. So it's attract, capture, nurture, your follow up, your emails, and then eventually meet with them, have a call to action, which generates sales. And then after is orchestrating follow up, orchestrating referrals. And I try to teach people, I tell my kids, listen, look at every business that you go in, that you see, what's the before unit, what's the after unit, what's the during unit, what's the after unit. And then as you're start to see that as you're moving in your career, what am I part of because if you want to make money, you need to be in the before unit. Like, you need to be bringing money into the company, right?
Right.
Maybe say, because if you can't make a company money or save a company money, you're hoping they give you a 3% raise, but I've always looked for, like, when people say they've been out of work for 6 months, a year, I look at them like they're crazy. Like, you're not trying. Maybe I'm insensitive. I don't know. It's like, because one of the things you said is but they don't want to sell nothing. That's the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they think sales is trying to talk people into doing stuff, and that's not what sales is.
But yeah, and everybody's selling something. Everybody, no matter what
everybody
you do,
needs something
every day of your life, you're selling something.
Yeah, and so everybody needs. So whether it's affiliate marketing,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's relationships, you can piece. I know people make $100,000 a year if selling other people's software or other people's stuff. So you don't go and say you don't lack the resources. We lack the resourcefulness to see the resources that are already there.
Yep. That's it.
This is a personal question. What are you reading? Or what's the last 2 or 3 good books I'm going to add this to my thing because I want to get some new titles.
Oh man, please don't do that to me, because you know what? I honestly, I only read for pleasure right now.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I read a lot of business books. I used to do it a lot when I was younger, but I mean, I'll be 66 in a month, man. Okay. And I focus on the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
Not that I can't learn anymore, because we can all learn.
Right.
But I am comfortable with my knowledge base now, so I focus in on the things that I can do. I actually will get a YouTube video or a podcast, episode. I don't even follow a lot of people on podcasts, but I will find an episode of something interesting, and I will take that 30 minutes to an hour and listen to it, take some notes, and then see if I can implement that information into my business. But I'm not reading a lot just because I just don't have the time that I used to do it. And I don't enjoy it as much as I used to. If I'm going to read Rollins Mystery, man,
okay,
when I'm on vacation.
Young people, that's not do that. He's right. You heard if you learn this stuff, so that's cool. Tell me, if they're digging this interview, what would you have them go to follow you, get the book, see what you're up to? Tell them, like, some of your business with the roofing. I want you to tell them a little about that, and if they're interested in that, how can they follow up with you?
Well, luckily, this in the past few months, I made one website which has all of my stuff on it. It's called The Idea Guy. The Idea Guy Brands, and I have information about my speaking. I have information about my books, which are on Amazon. You could have links there. It talks about my different software platforms that I've created, and it basically gives you a history of me. It has a link connection to my LinkedIn profile, so you can find out about me on theideaguybrands.com, and all of my stuff is there. I made that because I have so much stuff out there. I said I need to have one place where I have all my content so people can find out about me.
The Idea,
EAGUYBRANDS.com. And that's actually my company, Idea Guy Brands Incorporated. And that's why, because I have a lot of companies under that platform.
Right. I love that. Listen, this be probably the at least twice a year of this conversation for y'all, because I think this is a thing. I think you have a lot of wisdom to share. Dan, one final word I'm gonna let you have the last word. What would you send them off with today? Anything of knowledge you want to impart?
I think one of the things I people all the time is be optimistic. be optimistic in business, and try to find ways to help people. If you do that, and you for strategic but real personal relationships with people, and you're trying to find ways to do things with them, because it's easier and more rewarding to be successful with others than it is to be successful alone.
I love it. All right, guys, that is another bar. So I want you to listen, send this to somebody you know needs to hear it. And so listen, like, and share. And reach out to Guy. Tell them the name of the book again.
My book is Networking for Business. Again, it's available on Amazon. Networking for Business 2025. There's Networking for Business, which was the first one written in 2012. Well, the one in 2025 is really good. And actually, like I said, I'll be coming out with a book, Networking for Students. Actually, my daughter is editing it right now. So
Okay.
by the midsummer, it should be done.
Okay.
And listen, follow me. I have a podcast, Network to Net Worth. I haven't been following up on my episodes. I got about 12 episodes already booked. I mean, already in the can on YouTube and Spotify. And I'm going to be doing some more episodes. I'll probably do one with Curtis real soon because it just makes sense. But yeah, please connect with me. And if you have any questions, connect. All my contact information is on my website.
All right. And we'll put that in the show notes. Go out there, make it a great day. Thanks for listening.